Most creative, I'll have to say New York City.
I don't know, the default answer would be New York, I guess.
Probably Los Angeles, I would think.
I'd have to say New York. Anytime I've been in New York, it's just ridiculous how much you're surrounded with art and galleries, and just the people kind of exude creativity.
I don't know. I live in New York City actually, which is a pretty creative place, but I think there are like sort of smaller markets that have a little bit more sort of looser freedom, you know, like sort of the music scene jumps around, and Albuquerque or something like that becomes a lot more sort of easier to be creative because there's not so much of a market pressure, I guess.
I mean, I'm from New York, so like I can't really distance myself from that, but I wouldn't say that they're necessarily the most creative. Like, they make the most money, but they're not the most creative. And like, I think that countries that actually need to make things for like to live are far more creative than people who just like dig around and have a lot of money. So
Philadelphia.
I think like New York or Milan or Paris or something like that.
I'd say New York City.
I don't think there's like one creative city, because like each, at least from my experience, each city has like elements that it's really good at in terms of creativity and can bring something to like the creative world. So I think it's really hard for me to come up with like off the top of my head like the most creative city. Really?
Oh no, I actually didn't. Wow. Amazing.
I did know that I was in the creative, or am in the creative capital.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
I did not.
Not until I came here.
I did know that.
I've heard that before, and I think that's merited, you know, like, I mean, RISD's here. I mean, certainly downtown you can see a lot of creativity and a lot of art going on, which is really cool. It's very young.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm actually surprised that that Providence, Rhode Island, of all cities, would be called the creative capital of the world, or of the country.
Mainly because I'll say the structure of the city. I went to Providence, Newport. I've been to different places in Rhode Island, and just seeing the art of it is like art. To me, it's like an art kind of art state. And branding is important. You know, if you want to bring tourists, people, you know, stuff like that.
I mean, I guess because of the universities here, Brown and RISD, as well as I think this generation, or my generation, being like a very sort of creative, or aspire to be creative and aesthetic in a way, so as a way to sort of maybe boost the economy through a new generation of people.
I mean, I know there's like a big artist community in Providence, and there's also like a long-term history of like creation, whether that's like manufacturing or like art or music or like whatever. So I guess it comes from that maybe, and I would think that they would do that to like, you know, give Providence some sort of name other than like the negative connotations often associated with it.
Because it's small and they're trying to bring people here. Cool. And it's so close to Boston, but it's not Boston.
And I think, you know, like RISD being here is sort of a big aspect to it. So the size of the school relative to the size of the city kind of makes a lot of sense. And RISD, sort of like, you know, I said Albuquerque, I'm sorry, not RISD, but Providence, you know, back in the day was sort of like a big ska scene and stuff like that back in the 80s, and that then started to move to different cities like Albuquerque, whatever it is. But I mean, in terms of being the creative capital of America, I don't even know how you define that. That's sort of, you know, no idea.
I figure that probably trying to get more, or maybe attract more creative types, because I mean, this area we are in here right now, it definitely kind of has that vibe. I don't know if I'd say the rest of the city as much does, but I'd say, I mean, it fits to an extent. I don't know if I call it the capital of America at this point, but you never know.
I mean, we're both RISD students, so like the people here bring in like a lot of money, and
yeah,
you know,
there's also a huge like underground arts and performing arts community here.
Because there's a lot of young people here. It's always changing. It's transient, but in a good way. that there's always like new things and new ideas coming here, but I mean definitely, I mean just with all the schools and like all the art that's around here, and I would say, I mean there's a huge music scene here which is really cool too, so I can see that, and I think it's merited, yeah.
I think that Providence brands itself as the creative capital because there are a lot of creative people here. There are a lot of students, obviously a lot of design and art students as well as professionals. I think that there's a really good atmosphere for creativity here and a lot of innovation being done.
That's hard to say, but I guess people who just really enjoy, I don't know, who are like sort of cultish about aesthetic things and about creativity in that way. I don't know.
Tough question, but I would have to say more the photographers. Because they have the eye for it, they can see it, you know? Certain stuff, yeah.
I mean, I would say individuals that are like creating new things, whether that means like actual, like a production object, you know, like a tangible item, or like ideas, and or like even social change would be my idea of like creative people.
Like anyone that works in technology has got to be really creative. I mean, especially in like such an evolving field. Like I feel like anything in that type of area would be someone like Steve Jobs. Like has to be innovative.
When I think of an artist, I think of you know, like, I mean, the traditional sense, and musicians and stuff like that. So, and there's a lot of that here, a lot of people like that.
And I would say, you know, students are going to be more creative, both at RISD and other colleges around, you know. I think students in general are going to be more creative because they have the time and the freedom, and that's sort of what they're supposed to be doing, you know. Whereas once you get out, you're just trying to get a bunch of stuff done, you know. So, you know, but they know more than, say, a high school kid, so they have more means and more like ability to affect their creativity, project it, I guess.
I'd say students probably, usually. I'm a student, I like to think I'm relatively creative. I'm a photographer, so.
It comes out of need, like creativity comes out of like problem solving, and so like it's great that I go to school and like I have these problems thrown at me, but people who just naturally do these things on their own are kind of far more creative than a lot of other people.
I'd say that designers and artists usually get labeled as the most creative people in any city.
I have no idea. I don't really know who lives here, so I can't really answer that. But the most creative people in general, like what types of artists, I guess? I guess musicians, because I am one.